Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to break down one of the most popular and maybe one of the most misunderstood strategies in the stock market, the covered call. Now, I know it sounds kind of complicated, but I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to realize it's a concept you probably already get from a totally different part of your life. All right, let's just dive right in. So, check this out. This sentence right here, that's it. That's the entire strategy pretty much in a nutshell. And the funny thing is, if you've ever dealt with real estate, you might have already seen something just like this in action. And that is the key to understanding everything we're about to talk about. And that concept is called the right of first refusal. You'll hear people call it a ROFR. It's super common in the housing market. So just imagine for a second, you own a house. A buyer comes along and says, look, I love this place, but I'm not quite ready to buy it today. But what if I paid you a little cash right now just for the exclusive right to buy your house at a price we agree on today, anytime in the next month?
That's a right of first refusal. It's really that simple. You get some money in your pocket right now, a fee, and in exchange, they get dibs. If they decide, yep, I want it at that price within the time frame, you have to sell. But if they don't, hey, no problem. The time runs out, you keep their fee, and you still own your house. You basically got paid for selling a promise. Simple, right?
Okay, so what if we took that exact same idea, getting paid to sell dibs on an asset you own, but instead of applying it to your house, we applied it to the stocks in your portfolio? Well, if you do that, you have just discovered what a covered call is. It's literally the same thing.
And here is where it all just clicks. The words are different, but the deal is identical. In the real estate deal, you have your property. In the stock market deal, you have your 100 shares of stock. That set price you both agreed on? In the stock world, we call that the strike price. And that nice little fee you collected up front, we call that the premium. See? That's the same exact transaction, just wearing a different outfit. All right, so the concept makes sense. We get it. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does this actually work in practice? How would you do this with your own stocks? You'll be surprised how straightforward it is. First things first, and this is the most important rule. You have to own at least 100 shares of the stock. That's why it's called a covered call. Your shares cover the deal. Then you sell one call option contract, which always represents 100 shares. The second you do that, boom, the premium, that cash fee, lands in your account instantly. And from that moment on, there are only two ways this whole thing can play out. So what are those two paths? Let's look at path one. The contract ends and the stock's price is either at or below the strike price you agreed to. Well, think about it. Why would the buyer pay your higher price when they can get it cheaper on the open market? They wouldn't. So their right just expires, completely worthless. And the best part, you keep your 100 shares and you keep the cash premium. Now, path two, the stock price shoots up above your strike price. In that case, the buyer is absolutely going to use their right to buy your shares at that lower pre-agreed price. You sell your shares, you lock in your profit, and the deal is complete. You know, this abstract stuff is great, but it always makes more sense when we can put some actual numbers on the page. So let's run through a quick example and see what the real dollars and cents look like. All right, let's set the scene. Imagine you own 100 shares of a company, and you bought them for $72 a share. You decide you want to sell a right of first refusal on them. So you set the price, the strike price, at $80. And for selling this right, a buyer pays you a fee, a premium, of $2.20 per share. That means $220 in cash shows up in your account right now, just for making the deal. So let's see how this could end. Scenario one, the stock ends up at $77. That's below your $80 strike, so the buyer's right is useless. It expires. You keep your shares, and you keep that $220. That's a great outcome. Okay, scenario two, the stock pops to $81. Now we're above the strike price, so the buyer exercises their right. You sell your shares for $80 each. But don't forget, you also have that $2.20 premium you collected, so you really sold for an effective price of $82.20. Another fantastic, profitable trade. But what if the stock doesn't just go up a little? What if it absolutely skyrockets to $95? Well, the deal is the deal. They exercise their right, and you still sell your shares at $80. And that right there brings us to the core trade-off of this whole strategy. This is the one thing you always have to remember. It's the opportunity cost. Yeah, you made a great profit in that last scenario, but you missed out on all that extra money between $80 and $95 a share. And that's the deal you're making. You are trading away the potential for those massive unlimited gains in exchange for the guarantee of getting paid some income right here today. It's a trade-off, plain and simple. And knowing about that trade-off leads us to the most critical part of this entire strategy. This isn't about trying to be a fortune teller and predicting what the stock will do. It's about setting your own terms for a deal that you are perfectly happy with, no matter what happens.
So you have to think like you're underwriting the deal. And if you only remember one thing from this checklist, make it that first one. You have to pick a strike price where you would be genuinely, truly happy to sell your shares. If the stock hits that price and your shares get called away, it shouldn't feel like a loss. It should feel like your plan worked perfectly.
So always, always bring it back to that right of first refusal mindset. You're not just letting the market push you around. You are in the driver's seat. You were paid a fee for giving someone else the first chance to buy your asset at a price you chose. If they take you up on it, fantastic. If they don't, even better. You keep the fee and you keep your asset.
And that really leaves us with the big takeaway here. The single most important question you can ask yourself isn't, what do I think this stock is going to do? No. The real strategic question is, at what price would I be happy to sell these shares and walk away? If you can answer that question honestly, then you understand the true power and purpose of the covered call.